So greetings and welcome to the channel. There has been very recent updates from the developers of Tekken 8. Currently right now it's 6:16 a.m. March 29th. I've recently just got a hold of this news and it pertains to the backlash that has happened almost a week ago when Namco had their Tekken talk for season 2 and the changes or some of the changes that they were going to implement into the game and to the various characters. There's been much backlash surrounding that due to all of the unnecessary buffs regarding the King character, which I'll get into later on in this video. But for right now, let's just jump on over to the current news right now. So what you're seeing on screen is a gentleman by the name of Kohei Ikata, otherwise known as Nakatsu. So he is the game director of Tekken 8. So as it says here, as I'll read it, it says, in Season 2, I have spoken in the Tekken Talk Live, which I just referenced, and interview videos about the upcoming defensive improvements. However, I feel that I haven't fully conveyed the details and the significance of these changes. Season 2 introduces major system changes to sidestepping and movement mechanics. You can now sidestep toward the foreground while in a crouched state. Mind you, this is something that you were never able to do in Tekken before. So for instance, if you were somebody that is on the left side of the screen, you're the single player character, and you block an attack that puts you in a crouched state, the only option you really had was to sidestep into the background. You could never step into the foreground. Well, now this changes that. So you can complete the input for a sidewalk using input buffering. I would like to explain how these changes will affect matches using some video samples. Of course, I fully understand that the effectiveness of these adjustments may vary depending on factors like the character's size, their sidestep and sidewalk performance, and the axis situation when moves hit or are blocked. There may also be scenarios where a safer and simpler option than sidestepping is available. Please keep in mind that these videos are simply reference examples to demonstrate how the increased sidestep and sidewalk options will contribute to defensive improvements. The first example involves left side Jin getting hit by Nina's down back 3. In this situation, Nina's uppercut down forward 1-2 is a staple follow-up that takes advantage of her frame advantage. Until season 1, characters could only perform a sidestep into the background from a crouched state, making it extremely difficult to evade the uppercut jab using a sidestep to the background. However, in Season 2, since it is now possible to perform a sidestep toward the foreground from a crouching state, evading the uppercut jab becomes significantly easier compared to using a sidestep into the background. As a result, Nina will need to consider moves that counter a sidestep toward the foreground, limiting her staple options despite having a frame advantage. This gives Jin, for example, more defensive options, making it harder for Nina to apply pressure consistently, as you are seeing on the screen right here. So Lydia versus Steve. The second example features Lydia on the left side after landing her move Lame Duck down 2. If it scores a counter hit, it guarantees a follow-up with Flash Elbow while crouching down forward 2, leading to a heat activation. It's a rare move with crouch status that can be used to launch a strong offense, making it quite valuable. However, on a normal hit, Lydia is left at -4, meaning the opponent in this scenario would usually retaliate with a 13 frame left uppercut or down forward 1 as a staple option. In this scenario, when Lydia is on the left side, she can easily evade Steve's left uppercut or down forward 1 using a sidestep into the background. However, the situation changes drastically when she is on the right side, where the sidestep into the background is not an option. With Season 2, as shown in this video, Lydia can now sidestep toward the foreground, even from a crouching state, allowing her to evade the opponent's attack and create a situation where the opponent is at risk. So I'll let this play one more time. Now we go to the other side. She's on the right side. See, she gets caught. But now she can sidestep into the foreground. So this is now Jin versus Xiaoyu. The third scenario involves Xiaoyu landing a feathered fan, down back 2. After this hit, Jin is in a crouching state with a -5 disadvantage. From her rain dance stance, Xiaoyu has a variety of follow-up options, many of which are difficult to evade and need to be sidestepped to the left. In Season 2, however, even when Jin is on the right side, he can now sidestep into the foreground or left from a crouching state. This allows him to sidestep Xiaoyu's moves more effectively, adding risk to her follow-up choices and forcing her to think twice before committing to the attack. Final example, Kazuya versus Zafina. The final scenario differs from the previous examples, focusing on how sidestepping can create a significant risk for the opponent using multi-hit moves. When an opponent's health is low, uninterruptible multi-hit attacks that mix low and mid or low and high. Oh, there is more. It's become particularly effective for finishing them off. While using a low parry can be a viable option, if the opponent times it, their attack well after your ukemi, you may be forced to deal with it. A common example of this is Zafina's Euphrates cannon, down back 4-2, which is often used in scenarios where the opponent tries to chip away the remaining health. When anticipating the opponent will commit to both hits of Euphrates cannon, even knowing that the second hit can be avoided with a left sidestep, Season 1 presented a limitation in which then positioned on the right side, players couldn't sidestep to the foreground, left sidestep, after blocking the initial hit. However, with the introduction of Season 2, players can now sidestep to the foreground directly from a crouching state. This means that regardless of which side they're on, they can effectively evade the second hit and deliver optimal damage, adding a significant risk for opponents attempting to finish with moves like Euphrates cannon. So I feel like these changes are very, very good. It allows you, from the defensive standpoint, giving you more options. Because many times, the simplest example would simply be if you're Kazuya and you block a forward 4, which is Kazuya's axe kick. And when you block that move, it places you in a crouch state. So your only option is to sidestep one way. So what ends up happening is, we'd go into the lab practice mode and we would just find the optimal move that will cover the only real sidestep option that the defensive player has. So it presents a very strong lockdown situation where I know, as the offensive player, placing you in a wild crouch position, you can only sidestep one way. So I'm just going to block that. So now you have to deal with the nonsense. Now with Season 2, it flips that whole narrative on its head. Now after damn near 30 years, we're now able to crouch into the foreground. Sidestep into the foreground from a crouch state. So now that scenario I just expressed is thrown out the window potentially. Now the offensive player has to make a read and determine which way is my opponent going to sidestep to avoid my next follow-up attack. There's actually more news. So this next section goes into a ton of information. So I'm going to show that on the screen right now. So let's get into it. In Season 1, offensive options, utilizing the heat system had become somewhat formulaic, making it difficult for players to express their individual playstyles. Additionally, the advantages for the attacking player during heat state were often too great, leading to one-sided match developments, an issue we've acknowledged. So that's good that they've acknowledged that. I really appreciate that the Tekken community has become vocal and the developers have basically listened. Additionally, oh, wait a second. Okay, that's where I'm at. So with that in mind, Season 2 introduces a wide range of updates to the battle system and significant adjustments and new moves for each character based on the following three guiding principles. Number 1, expanding strategic options with the heat system. Activating heat provides a major advantage, creating opportunities to pressure opponents with mid-low mix-ups. However, characters lacking strong standing low attacks have been unable to fully capitalize on this advantage. To address this, we've made it possible to transition into a crouching state after a successful heat engager hit by inputting down back, down, or down forward, giving players more options to apply pressure. Now, mainly the reason why I believe, and many others in the Tekken community believe this to be why they've added it, is because there are some characters in this game that have very strong crouched mix-ups or while standing mix-ups. Most notably, the newest character, Anna. Anna, she has a very strong while crouching, while standing type of game. Another character I would say is actually Eddie. Eddie with his fully crouched down forward 4, which is a very good low attack, or his fully crouched down forward 3, which is also another good attack that launches on counter hit and is like +5 or +6 on block. You know, there are other characters, but this particular change right here definitely benefits them. Additionally, certain characters can now perform Heat Smash or Heat Burst from unique stances, enhancing combo variety and mind games during neutral. For characters who previously had limited tactical options during Heat, we've introduced new Heat exclusive moves to make their Heat state more appealing and dynamic. So what does that mean? So when you're playing against an annoying ass character like Victor or Claudio, where when they are in heat, they have low heat smash moves that you have to actually block. Now, it sounds to me that there are going to be characters that have moves specifically tethered to the heat mechanic that will allow you to get advantages, mix them up, put them in the blender, what have you. So number 2, rebalancing offense and defense within the heat system. To address the overly one-sided match dynamics, we've reduced chip damage across the board during heat state where its impact was most pronounced. Additionally, in endgame scenarios, it had become common to secure KOs by landing chip damage via heat dash followed by a quick finishing move, limiting creative decision making. To improve this, we've lowered the additional chip damage when the heat dash is blocked. To my understanding, I believe a heat dash, I believe it's like 17 or 19 chip damage. It's actually quite extensive. We've also made adjustments to how recoverable health works. Now even damage taken while grounded will leave recoverable gauge. That's interesting, okay? This not only softens the offensive pressure of heat, but also makes its defensive merits more tangible, giving defending players more opportunities to recover and fight back. Moreover, Heat Dash has long had numerous benefits, particularly when used from heat engagers with Power Crush properties. However, this created a gap in power between characters and often led to unbalanced mind games. To address this, we've removed the Power Crush property from most heat engagers or replaced them with other moves, except in a few cases where it's part of a character's identity. Exceptions include characters like Jack 8, Kuma, Panda, and Leo, whose unique stances retain Power Crush properties on their heat engagers. So, Annoying characters like, say, Victor, for instance. Victor's back 1+2, the little knife strike. The fact that it is safe on block, I believe it's 19 frames startup. It's a power crush and a heat engager, and it wall splats on the wall. Yeah, that shit had to go, and I'm glad to see that property taken away from, I gather, 95% of the roster. The armor moves should be used for armor purposes to get through your opponent by tanking a hit to deliver a hit of your own. It should not do that and also activate heat for many characters. That was absolute nonsense, and I will not be missing that. Improvements in controls to bolster defensive techniques and provide more enjoyable play. Historically in Tekken, it was not possible to sidestep toward the foreground while in a crouching state. This created situations where, for example, a string that could be avoided from the one player side or the left side became unavoidable from the second player, leading to imbalances in mind games unrelated to player skill or knowledge. In Season 2, this issue has been resolved. Players can now sidestep toward the screen even while crouching, ensuring that movement options are consistent regardless of the side. Additional quality of life improvements include input buffering at the start of rounds. Okay. Allowing players to execute a move the instant the round starts. I think what they're doing here is it's reminiscent of Tekken 4. Because in Tekken 4, you can move around, you can sidestep. So I might be off, but it kind of sounds like Tekken 4. Input buffering at the start of rounds, allowing players to execute a move the instant the round begins. Input buffering for sidesteps, for example, is you tap down, go neutral, and then you hold down. And then to go the other direction, you pretty much do the opposite. Even during recovery or stun states, so players can buffer movement and execute it seamlessly once able to act. These changes aim to improve the overall responsiveness and fluidity of control, helping players of all levels enjoy the game more comfortably. And regarding future adjustments, additionally, in order to address issues pertaining to the large frame advantage on heat activation and the excessive strength of heat dash, the development team is currently in the final stages of making adjustments geared towards re-evaluating aspects that impact the strength of offense, and also a focus on improvements in defense. These adjustments are scheduled to be completed by the opening of Tekken World Tour 2025 on May 9th. So these particular changes that I am speaking on right now are not going to be implemented immediately once the Season 2 changes take place or are activated on April 1st. So that's important to keep that in mind. So these particular changes are incoming. Now, the thing that I was most interested in, and in my opinion, was one of the biggest backlashes, is the mechanics surrounding the throws. Because, the bullshit that King has been given for this upcoming season is ridiculous. So anyway, let's get into this. Changes to throw mechanics. In Season 2, to address the difficulty of countering throws, the following adjustments have been implemented. Number 1, loosening the input window for throw breaks using 1+2. Adjustment intent. This change aims to reduce instances where players fail to break throws despite successfully predicting them, particularly due to the difficulty of executing simultaneous button presses. Number 2, increased recovery for whiffed normal throws. Adjustment intent. By increasing the recovery on whiff by 6 frames, players will have an easier time punishing opponents who miss their throws, especially when using crouches or backdashes to evade. However, considering that throws are often ineffective against opponents who can react and break them upon seeing the animation, additional benefits are being provided to the player attempting the throw. Number 3, when a throw break is successfully performed, the thrower, the one that initiates the grab, will recover 1 point of recoverable health. Conversely, when the throw break is successfully performed, the player that was grabbed will receive 5 points of recoverable health damage. Revised adjustment after community feedback. It was more like backlash, but I guess one and the same, right? After the initial announcement, the development team received feedback from players and reconsidered one of the proposed adjustments. It was concluded that imposing a disadvantage on the defender for executing a successful throw break would be excessive, as throw breaking is a high skill mechanic that reflects a player's practice and proficiency. So I want to just speak to that right quick. The main backlash of that season 2 broadcast that happened a couple of days ago was really surrounded King, even though it was a universal mechanic, but it was really geared around King. Let's be honest, that brain rot character has been given nothing but love since Tekken 4. So this particular situation saw where even if you are the person that broke the grab, like you broke the grab, you are still being penalized by having chip damage, despite the fact that you broke the grab. The person grabbing you should incur a bit of chip damage on them. So that's something that I've always said. So I actually like that this change is being implemented. So much like the, like I said earlier, most, if not all of these particular changes will be, kicking off around the Tekken World Tour of 2025, which is May 9th. So all of these changes that I just shared with you today will not be present for the beginning of Season 2 starting April 1st. So that means when you break grabs, you as the defensive player are going to lose chip. So it's going to be nonsense, but I'm glad that they are rolling back that nonsense, because that's all it was. It was absolute nonsense. I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how Season 2 is going to go. I think this is a good sign that the developers have listened and they are implementing these changes very, very quickly. Even with them not kicking off come April 1st, May 9th, literally the next month over, it's not that long of a wait. People are just going to have to suffer. I'm pretty sure the King mains out there are going to be loving it, using their brain rot character and having that character be even more bullshit. I definitely look forward to seeing what type of new moves are going to be added to the other characters. Currently in this game, I main Raven. I kind of like Eddie as well. But it's going to be interesting. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. You got something out of it. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Peace.